after the fact. It'll be made available to students. So again, welcome. I know we've got a couple of folks joining us. Thank you so much. We're here to talk about the Central Carolina Promise K14 program at Central Carolina Community College. My name is Mary Schmid-Carter. I am the College Access Coordinator. I help run the program, but what I'd like to do this evening is ask our college president, Dr. Lisa Chapman, to do a brief welcome and get us started.
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate it. And thanks to those of you that are taking the time to learn a little bit more about the program. Mary is going to provide all of the details and make sure you know what you need to know. And that's incredibly important, because the easier it is to get through the system, the easier it is to have a great start. My job, though, is to get to say to you, congratulations first. Congratulations for seeing this opportunity. And one of the things that I don't think a lot of students realize, that I think it's very important for me to share. And I was talking with the Harnett County Commissioners, the chair, board chair, and vice chair yesterday, and the county manager, and a couple of other leaders in Harnett County. So Harnett County's looking at the vision for the next strategic plan. And they have a consulting group, and the group wanted to know what's so great about Harnett County and what are the challenges. And one of the first things that I could talk about is the great alignment of the educational systems in Harnett County. And very importantly, I got to share with them, and of course the commissioners know this, that the community invests in its student. It believes so much in your potential and what you can bring to the community and what you can do for North Carolina, that basically the county has put its money where its mouth is and says, you guys are our future, and we know you're going to take care of it. So I would want you to recognize not only the dollar value of this. In today's world, anytime you can get a great education, a great opportunity, lots of great jobs coming to the area, and get it tuition free, if you're taking advantage of that, you're a step ahead of a lot of folks, and you're showing great, smart financial intelligence. But the other part of that I want to share with you again is, you should be proud, because it shows how much faith your county has in you. And I think that's incredible. You know, that's not true everywhere. So don't take it lightly. Recognize it. Recognize what they know you mean to the community, and the potential that you have. And I would just say, we look forward to having you as a part of the Cougar Nation. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mary.
If I can get myself unmuted. Thank you so much. Also, very briefly, want to introduce Dr. John Matthews. Dr. Matthews is our provost of our Harnett County campuses, and he is here with us tonight just to say hello real quick.
Greetings. I welcome you all, and I echo Dr. Chapman's sentiment that this is a wonderful opportunity for you, and I think you know that because you're logged in, and I think most of you, if not all of you, already have started the process of having your students enrolled and pre-qualified. I wanted to just share that as the Chief Executive in Harnett County, I want all of you to know that if you ever have a question or a concern, my office is located at the Harnett main campus in Lillington, and we are actually reopening our campuses. And if you have a need to come to campus and get a service, receive a service, or to ask questions, I want to let you know that that's available to you. All you have to do is ask. Now, Ms. Schmidt-Carter will get you to the goal line, so to speak, in terms of being qualified for Promise. But anywhere along the way, if you have a need, and it can run the gamut from you have a confusion regarding financial aid, or you have a question about program choices after you've already made those choices, or you have an issue, or you think you have a concern related to registration, getting books, whatever it may be, having some ideas as to which sections to choose, because some of you, if you live on the western side of the county, you may elect to have your students take classes in Lee County at the Lee main campus. And that option is open to you. It doesn't matter if there was a program located in Chatham County that your student wanted to take, that option is open to you. But I do want to let you know that virtually or in person, my office door is open to you. And I want to make sure that you understand that if you or your student have a concern or a question, that I want to make sure that question or concern is addressed, and that we can start this upcoming fall semester in the most productive and seamless way possible. So anyway, I greatly appreciate you taking advantage of the opportunity. And again, I welcome your questions.
Thank you again, Dr. Matthews and Dr. Chapman, both for joining us this evening. You're welcome to hang around, and if you would like to jump in at any point during the presentation, please feel free to do so. For my attendees, for my students, I do have a fairly short presentation to run through. Please know that if you have questions at any point, you are welcome to post those in the chat box or unmute yourself. The more that we can make this a dialogue, I'm happy to do that. But basically, the plan is to go over a brief covering of the program, talk about the requirements, that kind of thing, and then we'll definitely leave time for questions at the end. But again, you don't have to wait if something comes up and you think of it while we're going along. That's not a problem. So the first thing that I want to do, just to kind of get us started off, is talk about the program definitions, because occasionally this can provide some confusion for us. So most of you should be familiar with our Career and College Promise program, which is the program that offers those free college classes to our students while they are in high school. So hopefully most of you are currently taking those dual enrollment classes currently, and we want to make sure that you understand you are a Career and College Promise student now. You will not be a Career and College Promise student once you have graduated. So the program that we're talking about tonight is the Central Carolina Promise, or K14 program. So you can see how they're very similar. They're both CCP. They're both free college credit. It's just that one is aimed at current high school students. The other targets more high school graduates. So we just kind of want to keep in mind they're very similar. They dovetail together very nicely, but they are two slightly different programs. So Central Carolina Promise, K14, as Dr. Chapman alluded to, is an opportunity for students to have up to 2 years of additional tuition-free courses. We're very blessed to have that funding provided for us by each of our county commissioners. It's an incredible opportunity for students to further their education, help them have chances to improve their economic mobility moving forward in their careers, and hopefully, make some friends and enjoy college along the way. So that is going to be our focus this evening, is K14. And if that's kind of a new term for you, K14 kind of indicates the thought of encouraging students to have their education from kindergarten all the way through 14th grade, which in most cases is an associate degree. So that really is what we're focusing on tonight. If anyone does have questions specifically about Career and College Promise, I'm happy to try to answer those or connect you to the folks who work in that department on campus. So let's talk a little bit about the entry eligibility requirements for the program. These are fairly specific and have not changed very much since we first started running the program in 2018. So the students that are eligible for the program do have to reside in one of our service area counties, which means Chatham, Harnett, or Lee County. And I will mention real quick, we're talking about Harnett County this evening, but it's the same information. We have 3 sessions this week. We are going to cover the same information in all 3. So students do have to be a resident of one of those counties. Because we're so blessed to have this program funded through tax dollars, we just want to ensure that we're using it to help the students that live within those counties. Also, students must participate in the Career and College Promise program while in high school. So you do have to have the pre-graduation CCP in order to qualify for the after graduation CCP. We are looking for students that have completed either 12 credits or 4 classes. Those are usually the same. Classes are usually 3 credits per class, but if one of those 2 varies, it's not a problem as long as you meet one of those 2 benchmarks, and we can help you assess that if needed. You also likely have a CCP advisor at your high school who can also help in that process. We are looking for students who are graduating, but it does not matter if it's a public high school, private high school, charter school, homeschool program. We will pretty much welcome anybody as long as you're graduating from a North Carolina high school. And you do obviously need to enroll at CCCC in order to take advantage of this free tuition program. Now, the way that that works is there is a 2-year eligibility window, and the clock starts ticking at graduation. So for those of you that are hopefully graduating either this month, next month, this spring, you will have eligibility for the program through the spring of 2023. So just keep that in mind. You do not necessarily have to attend every semester, but there isn't a way to sort of extend on the back end. So just keep in mind that is a specific window. This is also considered a last dollar program, which means that we will work with students to try to identify other funding sources first. We're going to have you look at financial aid options, scholarship options. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide, but do keep in mind that K14 is essentially like a gap coverage. So if you have tried to receive funding from other sources and there is still a part of your tuition and fees that's not covered, that's when we would come in and provide the funds for you. Also keep in mind, this is for tuition and required fees. The program does not at this time cover textbooks, so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. There are some additional requirements for students who are transitioning from the first to the second year of the program, and those mainly revolve around those funding items that we're going to talk about in just a second here. Before I move forward, does anybody have questions already? Anything that comes to mind? Okay, they're not jumping up, but if you do think of something, feel free to put it out there. So if we are talking about the enrollment steps, this is the link to our website. It's pretty straightforward. It's just cccc.edu/promise. And what I've tried to do is keep this presentation really aligned with what's on the website. The website's just a little bit more interactive for you. It has links and helpful tips and all that kind of stuff for everything that we're going to talk about here. So the number one thing that we are hoping really that we need students to take the initiative to do is to complete the Central Carolina Promise K14 interest form. Some of you may have done that already. If you're not, we would kindly request that you do that as soon as possible. It is a Google form. It should be pretty straightforward. And there is actually a video that goes along with it. So if you're somebody who's unsure about how to get started, hopefully that video will help kind of walk you through. But what the interest form does is it basically gets you on a list to let us know that you're interested. And once I have your name, if John Matthews submits his interest form, then I've got John's name. I know that I can work with him and make sure that I can help him navigate the rest of the steps that we're going to talk about. So it may look like a lot this evening, but please know that my role is to help you get through all these different pieces of our enrollment process. So the main things that we're going to look at are your foundation scholarship application and the FAFSA. So this goes back to that, what I was talking about on the last slide with K14 being a last dollar program. So it is required that you fill out our foundation scholarship application. I will say this is pretty unique. I don't know many colleges that do this. We are very lucky that our students fill out one scholarship application for our foundation, and then the folks within the foundation look at your application and they see if there are scholarships that they can match you to. So instead of you identifying 10 or 12 or 15 scholarships and applying to each of them separately, it's sort of a one-stop shop. You fill out that one application and then they assess that to see if there's a scholarship that'll be a good fit. So we think that that's as simple as can be for the students. There is an essay and a letter of recommendation that will go along with that. But again, if you're on our main website, all of the links will be there to get you to those places. The FAFSA is that free application for federal student aid. Students should always fill this out every year that they're in college. And sometimes there are some additional documents that are required after you complete the FAFSA. So these are really sort of the first and second level of funding that we're looking at for students. And again, if you don't qualify for whatever reason for either of those funding sources, that's when K14 would kick in for you. The other things that we'll be looking for are that you've completed your North Carolina residency determination process. This was fairly new a couple years ago. There now is a central office that determines whether students qualify for in-state or out-of-state tuition. So that is a required piece. I can tell you, if we don't have that information, there is nothing that anyone can do to register you for classes. That is completely out of our hands, unfortunately. But if you have trouble with that or get stuck navigating that process, let me know and I'm happy to help. We also require an updated admissions application for you. If you are currently taking Career and College Promise courses, you are already a CCCC student, you have a student ID number. This one does confuse students sometimes because they're like, why do I have to apply? I'm already here. The difference is that when you graduate, we really close out your association with the CCP program, and then we sort of deactivate your account, if that makes sense. It doesn't disappear, your student ID number will not change, but it sort of goes dormant. And so we need this new admissions application for the fall to let the college know to reactivate your account, put you in a traditional program, and just make sure that we can help you with everything moving forward. It's also really helpful if you've moved in the last couple of years or gotten a new phone number, that updated information should be included on that application for you. The last little piece here that we'll talk about is your final official high school transcript. We will need that after graduation. Please do not go ahead and send us a transcript yet. You can if you want, that's not a problem, but we will need another one after you have graduated. So if you send one tomorrow, the college is going to still say to you, we don't have your transcript, because it's not considered official until after your graduation date. So just kind of keep that in mind. The other couple things that are here are additional items that we ask all of our incoming students to do. And really everything that's on this list is not, the only thing that's super specific to K14 is that interest form. Otherwise, any student that's coming back really should be completing all these items. So parents, if you're thinking about returning to school, these are steps that you would still want to take. You wouldn't qualify for K14, unfortunately, but you could certainly go through the rest of the process. But we have a pretty good process right now for enrolling students, helping them complete an interest inventory to identify a major or make sure that they've selected a good major. And then they'll also work with an admission specialist to get registered and attend a new student orientation. So again, it looks like a lot. I know I talk a lot, it sounds like a lot, but I promise that this is actually fairly straightforward. And what I try to do is communicate with the students. So far, it's been once a month. We're getting ready now as we get closer to the summer. It'll probably be every 2 weeks. We will send out emails. So I will send an email that says, Dear John Matthews, we have items 1, 3, and 4 from you, but we are missing 2, 5, and 6. Here's how to complete those steps. So it'll be a lot of nudging, a lot of reminders, hopefully something that the students will find helpful, from our side. So are there any questions about that? I'm going to give you all just a second. Okay, we'll forge ahead. So the important dates that we have set aside, the reason that we encourage the dates that I'm going to go over with you in just a second is that there is a bit of a timeline to some of these items that we're discussing. If you were to try to start this process and you submitted your interest form on August 10th, we would still work with you. We would do our best to get everything processed and put in place as quickly as possible, but it probably really wouldn't be ready to go for you by the first day of school. And we really want you to have a positive experience. We want everyone to have all their ducks in a row. And so what we're encouraging is for students to follow by these priority deadlines. They're not hard and fast deadlines. If you miss a deadline, again, we'll still work with you, but these are things that will help you, help us have all those processes flow smoothly. And then what we'd like to do is by the end of July, we'd like to do sort of a big announcement and recognize the students that are accepted into the program. I think Dr. Chapman did a great job of saying, you should be proud, you should be excited to be honored to be part of this program. It is an investment from our county level officials. It's the college. We are all saying that we believe in you as a student. And so we want to take advantage of that and sort of trumpet it from the rooftops by the end of July, hopefully. So July 1st, what we're encouraging folks to do is have their interest form completed, the scholarship application, and then the initial FAFSA submission. And all these dates are on our website. They're all there with reminders. This is all information that you'll also get on your interest form, and you will get a copy of that interest form, all your answers. So this information is in multiple places, but again, I will help remind you if needed. The reason that we have the 2 separate dates is largely because the FAFSA, occasionally they need some follow-up information. Every once in a while, you just submit the FAFSA and they have everything they need and you're good to go. But quite often they need a copy of a tax return or a W-2 or more information of some sort. So we want students to have that 3-week window to procure those documents if needed. So by the 23rd, we are looking for students to have their admissions application, their high school transcript sent in, and then that financial aid verification if it applies. That then gives me a week for everybody who's got everything in by July 23rd. That gives me a week to get all those several hundred things processed and make sure that we're hopefully ready to share that information by the end of the month. So keep in mind, we will certainly take submissions after these dates. If you decide in November that you want to come back to CCCC in January, we will absolutely work with you. We will try to get all this in place. Just keep in mind, there is a little bit of a timeline. So we just kind of want to manage that expectation for folks, make sure they understand that for better or for worse, it's not a process that can happen completely overnight. So just as like a quick money to put some dollar signs with this, our tuition currently at CCCC, and I believe this is a statewide rate, is $76 per credit hour. So if you were to take an English class, that's a 3 credit hour class, $76 per credit hour. I'm too tired to really do math, but I think that's about $220, somewhere in that range. That is our in-state rate. And I will mention that K14 does only cover that in-state rate. So if for some reason we have students who are identified as out-of-state students, we would be able to cover up to the in-state rate. They would be responsible for paying that difference. That doesn't happen very often, but just keep that in mind. Our fees rate for this spring was $45 per student. And then some students do have technology fees that can vary by course sometimes. So if you were to take 12 credit hours, which is a full-time load at CCCC, that would run you about $950. On the one hand, that is fairly manageable, and I think it's a great economic savings to consider attending a community college. However, I know that I personally would not have $950 under my couch cushions. So we do think that that's a pretty significant savings that we can offer to students. By contrast, tuition alone at NC State is about $9,000. That doesn't include room and board, that doesn't include your parking, your textbooks, all that kind of stuff. And it's not to knock NC State. I think NC State is an incredible institution. We will do everything we can to help you transfer there if you're interested. But those first 2 years is really very similar educationally. And so we just think that this is a great opportunity for students to save some money, regardless of what their end goal is. So if you're someone that is interested in transferring to a four-year university, we will work with you. We'll make sure that we plan ahead as carefully as possible. Your advisor can do that and help you prepare for that transition. But if you're someone that's also interested in one of our trades, if you want to be in welding, criminal justice, early childhood education, we have a ton of options available for students pretty much no matter what you want to do. But just keep in mind, this is the money that you can be saving. And if you are transferring to NC State, this is money that you can be saving now that may help kind of put towards that education later on. So I am going to leave this slide up. This is all of my contact information. My name again is Mary Schmidt-Carter. I'm the College Access Coordinator. I have been in this role only since September, but I've been with the college for a couple of years. And so I like to think that I know a little bit about a lot of things, and I'm definitely here to help our students, help you navigate the process for K14, but also, as Dr. Matthews mentioned earlier, if you get stuck with your FAFSA, if you have trouble with the registration, let me know. I can't do everything, but I am happy to try to connect you to the resources on campus that can support you. I have an office phone number. Dr. Matthews mentioned that we are kind of slowly opening our campus back up. I also have a text number, like a mobile number that you can text or call. Our email address is there, and then the website again. So lots of different ways for you to reach out and get in touch with me if you need it. But truly, the number one thing we're hoping for after this evening is that you will go ahead and fill out that interest form. That really lets me, again, identify who you are, make sure that we get the ball rolling, and make sure that we communicate with you about what's needed. So I'm going to come up for air for just a second. I'm going to be real quiet and see if you all have any questions. Dr. Matthews, if you had any additional comments, if I missed anything, let me know. But otherwise, I'm just going to hang out for 1 second and look at my notes and see if I missed anything. So we asked for folks that registered ahead of time. We asked if anybody had questions that they wanted to make sure we covered. Someone had asked about transferring, and I think we kind of covered that. You would be looking at one of our university transfer programs. We have several that are designed specifically to get those first 2 years out of the way and then transfer on to another program. I see your question. I'll be right with you. There was a question about testing as well. And for the most part, we're really not requiring testing for placement anymore at the college. I'd say 95 times out of 100, we are using a high school student's unweighted GPA for testing now. So if you do take an SAT or ACT, that is fantastic. We'll certainly take those scores, but we are not requiring them at this time. So just kind of keep that in mind. Someone had also asked after the initial 2 years of the program, could they reapply? Unfortunately, the way that it's structured at this time, we don't have that opportunity. The K14 window is only those 2 years, but you would continue to be eligible potentially for FAFSA scholarships, other opportunities like that. So I think that that covers most of the questions that came in. I had a question about campus tours being available. And the answer is yes, we have actually been doing tours for quite some time. I believe that we unfortunately just have mostly remained outside. They've been doing sort of outdoor tours just out of an abundance of caution. But I believe that as our campus is starting to open up now through the month of May, they probably will be offering more comprehensive tours that I assume will gradually be re-entering the building. So that is a good question. Is there anything else that anybody can think of this evening? I'm hearing silence, but I will hang around for just another minute or two if there's anybody that didn't want to speak up in front of the group. Hopefully this was good. Hopefully this was a good use of your time this evening. We are very grateful that you chose to spend a little bit of time with us. Please check out the website, reach out to me if you have any questions, tell your friends, make sure they know about it. We're trying to make sure we get the word out. But we would be very excited to have you join the Central Carolina Promise K14 program this fall, and we will do everything we can to help you achieve your educational goals. So thank you all so much for attending.